So a couple weeks ago we hit our first anniversary and I put a poll out asking what you weebs wanted to see for a celebration video. For the first 6 days, my top 5 favorite anime was winning, so I started to write that script, but in the end, top 5 villains pulled through, so here we are. Now, as much as I'd like to go unscripted and spew out my love and affection for every fairy tale villain I've ever seen, I've put some self-imposed rules on to keep any of you from freaking out at me to pandering to fairy tale too hard. Rule number 1, there will be a maximum of 2 fairy tale characters on this list. And rule number 2, these characters must end as villains. Characters that start as villains but end up heroes will not count, so sorry to Juvia and Gajiel, but characters that start heroes and then switch sides do count, so God Serena is still in the running. Quickly to show my love for these characters that just don't make the list, here's a lightning round of dishonorable mentions, whether they just don't make the cut or a rule disqualifies them. God Serena, Wall, Aragorn, Azuma, Zancro, Mary Hughes, Shigaraki, Ivan, Cobra, Jalal, Medusa, and the Millennium Earl. Now let's get into number 5, Ladros from Black Clover. My favorite possible personality for a one-off or even slightly reoccurring villain. The cocky, powerful mage who thinks they're unbeatable, who only loses when they underestimate their opponent and get lazy. Not to mention his awesome design, slight backstory about him being bullied as a kid, and the fact that this is my way to unofficially put Aragorn on the list without breaking my fairy tale rule.
You're about to become my stepping stone too! Oh, this is bad.
Moving up to someone most of you probably thought would be second place, the deranged eyeball collector Dr. Danny Dickens from Angels of Death. Angels of Death was the first show I did episode reviews on, and while working on them every week, I jokingly mentioned how annoyed I was that halfway through the series, Kathy had gotten like 4 episodes to herself when Danny didn't even get 1. You weebs seemed to latch on to my appreciation of Danny, and the comments were filled with Dr. Daddy and Vitamin D memes, and the reception to the AOD reviews is the most fun I've ever had in the anime community. You weebs are 99% of the reason why Dr. Danny is even on this list. Well, that and the fact that when Funimation started dubbing it, they made the genius decision to cast the wonderful Derek Snow.
Oopsie! How terribly unfortunate! What a horrible little mess you've made! I'm the one who activated the building's emergency system. You're welcome.
Number 3 is going back to another more recent villain. A couple of seasons ago, Lurch put out an anime that I hyped to Jupiter and back. Radiant's first season introduced a lot of cool villains, but Captain Dragonoff doesn't exactly fit my rules, so who could I be talking about? Hamlin manages to impact me in her final moments almost as much as she messes with Seth. Hamlin is an amazing example of giving your villain a compelling backstory that forces you to relate with them. Contrasting her deep personal hatred for Rumbletown and all the people in it for killing her friends and the one man who ever treated her like a human, to the two-dimensional Conrad, the champion of Rumbletown, whose only personality traits are being racist and power mad. Sure, yes, Hamlin does die protecting Seth, but being good or bad isn't as black and white as her nemesis. She dies fighting the Inquisition, who we're told to believe are somewhat just misguided protectors of humanity, and Hamlin's rampage of Rumbletown doesn't exactly scream good guy.
Don't you get it? I'm not your enemy! Those people! The bloodthirsty mob you're fighting to protect right now, they're against us!
My number 2 goes to the poetic delight that is Rusty Rose from Fairy Tail. The best member of the 7 Kin of Purgatory, who has the power to create whatever he envisions. For this entry, I'm mostly going to be showing still images because TV Tokyo is obsessed with flagging and cleansing all references of the 7 Kin from my channel. Rusty's design, attitude, and powers are all cool enough to put him on the list on their own, but where he really shines to me is when he stumbles into Crime Sorcière and tells his fellow kin all that he's been through, and begs her to join him. After Master Hades is slain by Zareth, Rusty barely survives and spends the next 7 years trying to convince himself that there has to be other members alive, and becomes obsessed with rebuilding the guild he loved so much. Rusty Rose even uses his Arc of Embodiment to recreate Zonkro and Azuma to attack Tartaros once they betray the Barum Alliance. And while trying to get Melty to leave Crime Sorcière and rejoin him, he recreates their entire guild before being struck down, and Jalal offers him a chance to walk the path of atonement and finally accept that his friends are gone, and Grimoire Heart isn't coming back. Unfortunately, seeing as all of that was anime only, I don't really have the most faith that he'll accept that invite and return to the battle to stop the Spriggan 12, but a boy can dream, right?
And I am called Rusty Rose. I am one of the 7 kin. We belong to a member guild of the Barum Alliance, Grimoire Heart.
Now I'm sure you all could have guessed who the #1 spot is going to. The fairy tale villain who controls the most elite team of villains in the show. The all-powerful Wizard of Death who has complete mastery over demonic texts and is capable of easily defeating the anime's main characters without even giving it his all. Wait, I'm rating my top 5 most hated villains. This is my Zeref script. Oh my... You know, what? Whatever, this all still applies since Zeref is just a lame version of Master Hades. Of course it was gonna be Master Hades. What do you people expect? I've been fighting to keep my Master Hades video up for more than a month at a time since I made it who knows how long ago. I will leave a link to it in the description to that video and hope whenever you watch it the link still works. I'm not going to go super deep into this right now because my full Master Hades video needs some sort of support. For the couple weeks at a time, TV Tokyo isn't just ripping it apart and slowly turning it into a solid black screen.
Now do you understand your folly?
7 years I wandered! 7 long years! I never gave up on finding you! That hope was the only thing I lived for.
Thanks for watching. Check your screen for the Fairy Tale playlist and my Why I Love Villains video, or just check the description for anything you need. Well, peace weebs.